Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for We Are Who We Serve. What does resilience mean to you? My name is Tanya Mac, and I'm the Outreach Director at the Cohen Clinic at MetroCare in Dallas. And we've got Heather Wilson and Jenny Lynne here with us as well. Heather, want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Heather Wilson. I'm the Outreach Manager at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at the Up Center. We're located in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
And I'm Lynne Stroup. I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the Cohen Clinic at VVSD, located in San Diego, California.
Yeah. And so we're talking about resilience today, and really, what does resilience mean to you? I'm pretty sure most people know the actual definition of resilience, which is adapting to stressful life changes and bouncing back from that hardship. So if you are alive and watching this today, you've already had to deal with some tough times, whether it's that you've been bullied or someone that you love deals with mental health issues. If you've lost someone you've loved to suicide, or just regular, just death, have been brokenhearted through relationships or divorce, or any of these types of things are examples of hard times that you've got to bounce back and become resilient and kind of create that for yourself. Jenny Lynne, would you like to kind of talk about what resilience means to you?
Absolutely. So in addition to being the outreach coordinator at the clinic in San Diego, I'm also an active duty military spouse. And so I think by definition, military spouse is the answer for resilience. That's our whole life. We're just constantly, making the best of things and moving around and, refinding community. But to me personally, I heard a really great term that I now use in place of resilience. Actually, resilience for me kind of became a oh gosh, please stop saying that about me. It started to feel like a burden. I had to be that all the time. And I heard this great term by Dr. Shauna Springer. It's called psychologically elastic. And its meaning is very similar to resilience in that you're constantly rebounding, but mentally. And to me, that fits so much better because resilience encompass you had to be physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things ready to go back into whatever it was you were doing. Whereas psychologically elastic allowed me to go, you know what, mentally, I am here and I am doing the thing. I mean, my family just PCS'd across the country. I work full time. I have 2 kids. My husband's out to sea. That is exhausting. And so people continue to go, but you're so resilient, while inside feeling but I'm tired. I don't want to be resilient because I'm tired. Psychologically elastic allowed me to go, oh, but I am doing all these new things. Oh, but I am still showing up in the ways that I need to show up for work and for my family and for my kids. And also give myself the grace to say I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. What about you?
So for me, I think resilience, hardships are always going to come, as Tanya mentioned. So it's coping with the hardships. It's being flexible. It's getting comfortable with sometimes not having it all together. All of that kind of encompasses resilience.
Yeah, I think it's a great reminder that you can't control what's happening. I don't like saying happening to you, but whatever's happening in your life, but really challenging yourself to control the way you respond to that. That's where your power is. That's where your resilience is. That's where your strength is. So no matter what's happening in your life, it's one thing after another. It's really trying to bring light and kind of find that positive in the darkness, which brings you. And now, Jenny Lynne, I don't even want to say but you know what I mean.
Oh, I do. I mean, my teacher heart just was really happy I taught you guys something today. A new term instead of continuing to use the same one that honestly sometimes feels like a have to in the military world. You have to be resilient or you're not going to make it. You have to be resilient or everything's going to feel hard. So happy to teach you guys that today. You can start using a new term and giving yourself, the grace and space you need to do all of those things that, life just does encompass. And both of you kind of spoke to it. It doesn't just have to be military related, though all of us have experiences related to the military. But I mean, life sometimes is just one big giant change all the time. And it's, the ability to bounce between those and still continue to show up the way that you need to show up is really good.
No, for sure. I know for me, so things in my life recently, I've definitely can consider those ways of like trying times, but it's strengthened me. And I know that, we are all in the veteran space. So I think a major one is losing people to suicide. And, it's not a great thing when you lose somebody, but being able to bounce back from that. And again, bringing like that positive and that light back to it. And learning from it and gives you a way. So like, we only have this one life to live, and whatever's happening to you, just make it the best for you and the people around you.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, we're all here today doing this series called We Are Who We Serve because we literally are who we serve. Like, we are our target market for Cohen Veterans Network and the mental health services we provide. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get into a job, talking and teaching about mental health because mine was awesome.
Right?
I got here because of the resilience I had to go through, like, to ask for help and, really like dig into some of the things that had been those things that felt unchangeable or immovable. And that's why I love this series that we're doing. And I love what I do as an outreach coordinator for the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic, because I know I'm not the only one who's had to be resilient or psychologically elastic and, get through like mental health challenges. And I'm just so glad to be in a space where we provide those resources for people like ourselves and our families to get the help they need.
Yeah. So, when you're in the thick of it and the hard times and struggling, I think it's important to lean on to the people that support you and that you've got that connection with. There's tons of organizations out there doing peer groups, like there's Military Veteran Peer Network, there's the Veteran Spouse Network, whoever that group is, or it might be your church group, or I don't know, book club, whatever you're into, whoever those people are, lean into those people when you're having a difficult time. People care about other people. There will be somebody that is out there that can help support you. And I think that's important. And that's helped me in the past when you feel like you have nothing and you have no one and you're lonely and you're isolated and all the things. It's like, if you just reach out to that one person, then they'll wrap you up in their arms, and then you're just going to get more and more help and support that way.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Tanya. I think finding your tribe, and whether if it's military and you just PCS, it's networking and finding your tribe in that arena. If it's going through grief and loss, it's finding your tribe, because there's, like you mentioned, there's always someone who's going through something similar that you can relate to, and just being in the presence of others who truly understand already just builds you up, and it does make you resilient. And it doesn't always just become a venting thing. It becomes just really relating to people and them having that full understanding of, this is where I'm at, and I know you're there too, and there's strength in numbers, and here we are, and we're going to get through this. And I think in the back of your head, you do know, you're going to get through it. It's the process of going through. That's what builds that resiliency.
Absolutely. Yeah. Community, really is, for me personally, like the backbone of the resilience. Like, none of this did I go through by myself or get through by myself. And I think we all three of us are like great examples. I mean, what people don't know about us in real life is we are actually real friends, on all different coasts, that have had those times where we've been able to come to each other and say, hey, look, life is hard and I'm having a hard time, not even asking for like tips or advice, but just that simple sharing really starts to create that first step out of the yuck and, allows you to go, okay, like, or somebody can remind you like, hey, you've done this before. I think for me, that's one of like the best things my people do for me is go, hey, remember that time? You're still here. Like you did it. You walked out before, like you can walk out again. And we are here to help build you up in that.
For sure. And it's so true. I mean, I've called recently, both of you. Like, I need help. I need you to, whatever. And not even, we've never met in person. No, well, I haven't met either of y'all in person because you're
right.
We're in California. But it's kind of leaning into those people that care, and there's people out there. So that's a big part of it.
So I want to kind of focus for a minute to military children and resiliency when it comes to military children. I think one of the biggest challenges for our children who are PCSing or constantly having to meet friends and tell friends goodbye and, packing up their whole life every 3 years, I think there's a special kind of resilience that comes with these children that are just, honestly, they're used to this world, and it really does show. And you'd be surprised. I'm sure you all have seen it in your kids, how quickly they adjust because they know that that's the way their life has been. So I don't know if you all have seen some of the same things in your kids or just kind of the rhythm of what it's like to be a military child.
Yeah, I think what I've noticed here lately, like I said before, we're about 4 months post a cross-country move, and somewhere where we were for a very long time. 5 years in military terms might as well be 100. Like we were in one place for 5 years, and so we were well established, right? Yeah, we were well established, and so to pick up and move, even though for my family we were coming home, like we are back in the area where I was born and raised. My boys were both born. What I have seen through them, and what I think the great advantage of being a military child is that you learn from an early age how to ask for help. And I think that's what I've really seen in my boys as we've made this transition, and they've been forced to make new friends, and they've learned a life skill that it takes most people, self included, like, through their mid-30s to learn, but because of the nature of their lifestyle, they've been able to do it more quickly because they know that on the other end of that ask is a friend or, something to do, whatever it is they're looking for. Right now, my boys, have a great little neighborhood community because they got out there and went, hey, like we play baseball. Who else does? You guys want to come to our yard? Like, what do you want to do? And so, gosh, like all jokes aside, I was probably in my mid-30s before I was able to say like, hey, I need friends. Like, I need friends. I need to figure out what to do. So I think, they are a great example, can be a great example of early learned resilience in the asking for help.
And they learned some of that from you too, Jenny Lynn, because I remember when you were getting the kids set up and you knew you were coming here, you reached out to our case manager and said, hey, my kids are coming, I'm coming, we need this, and this set up. Who's the best in the area? And I think that's a great use of our services that we provide here at the clinic, that you were able to just pick up and ask our case manager, how can I get these resources set up for my kids? And you being resourceful and resilient helped them. I know one thing that you and I had talked about too with your kiddos coming here is the culture shock. So that's a huge piece too, is that oftentimes when kids do PCS, there is a culture shock, there is a big change that they have to adapt to as well.
I think that's important, especially since we have clinics across the country, and moving and reaching out, and like even that ask, it's not a friend ask, but it's definitely an ask of things that you need. And people tend to like stick to themselves and not want to bother people or whatever. I'm a great example of that. Today I was at another event. I'm like, I'll just Uber back. It's fine. I can't drive. I'll just Uber. And then they're like, no, I can drive you. No. But eventually just letting that happen. I'm the worst at asking for help, so I need to take y'all's advice in that for sure.
Yeah, asking for help is definitely like, I think the key to having a like solid military life, and I think for some of us, there are some built-in things. And I think we'd be amiss not to address that. What's been more difficult and harder to build resilience in the last couple of years with like pandemic and pseudo post-pandemic life is like some of those mainstays are just gone,
Right.
or at least not in existence in the way that people feel most connected currently, right? Like, like the FRGs, the different things in military life where you meet all those people and you find your tribe. We've had people move cross country, all of that, to come home to a home where it's just them and they don't know the resources and they don't have the things. So, I think being able to get back to some of those, I think that's one of the great things about all of the clinics we work for is we do have that community space. And when it's safe and available, like we open those up for different events and having people, having people in clinic to not only meet each other, but meet our staff and humanize and personalize like mental health and destigmatize it. I'm grateful that as things continue to open up, like we have that space available to provide something that may not exist other places currently.
Yeah. And I know like in Texas, we've been very open, and like our new community room is open, and we're having workshops. Like we've got the theater workshops on Tuesday nights, and just having that community, even if it's not something that you're into, just being around other people doing something other than your normal whatever it may be, is important to like just kind of put yourself out there and get connected.
I think so too. Yeah. The clinics, all of them across the United States, there's just so many opportunities to plug in and get resources and get mental health therapy. There's a huge component of resiliency is mental health for a lot of us. So making sure that you're plugged in that manner, because you can't do much without having your mental health be stable. So please reach out if you need to get connected to a clinic. We're everywhere. There's not, and we border states where there are clinicians who are dually licensed. So if there's not a clinic right in your area, we can help you to get connected. And I think there's a Facebook comment that just came up. My family moved across country a year ago. And it has been so hard with a young child being so far from family, friends, and the village. In addition, my spouse works very long hours, so I don't get much respite. Relatable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, that respite is a part of really building that resiliency. I know for myself, we went over like psychologically elastic and how it enabled me to go, and I'm tired. Respite is a big part of being able to like get back at it and feel resilient. And so again, like back to that weird pandemic, pseudo post-pandemic, whatever stage that we're living in currently, it's really trying to build in those things that are going to help with the resiliency. And our hope as, ambassadors for Cohen Veterans Network and the individual clinics we work for is that we can be that space for you. One of the great things about our model is that we break down barriers to care, including childcare. So if mental health has been something that's been on your list of things to do that never quite is the thing that gets checked off because life, let us help you take that one thing off your list, because, it can provide that care. An hour of talking to another adult, even if you just tell them about your day, is such a
Oh my
relief.
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so much. Wendy, thank you for that comment. I think I always say I have to take breaks from my kids too, and it makes me a stronger mom. When I come back, I'm so much more refreshed. So I'm glad you were able to find that in your son's daycare and people that you trust to watch your kids, because sometimes you just need to take a mom date by yourself to just clear your head, but also keep us in mind, because if it is kind of leaning towards the mental health side, we do provide in-house child care services.
Yeah. Well, and helping, as a mom, like helping your kids build that resiliency. I think, Heather, you spoke to this a little bit. I mean, it's completely dependent on what you have in your own well to dip from. And so if you can find those places like the daycare that, where your child does feel safe and cared for, and it allows you some time and space, like it really helps on the back end of you being able to build that, like, hey, we just did another change. Hey, dad's working long hours. Like, all of that is so important. And, kudos to you for finding somewhere and taking time and space.
I know one thing that our clinic did prior to the pandemic, we'll probably bring it back soon, is we did a parents' night out. And I assure you it sold out like in an hour. And so what we did is we allowed the parents to drop their kids off with us, and we entertained them for the evening, and they got to have a date night. And I mean, there were some families with 5 or 6 kids, and they said, this has been our first date night because we always move to a place where we don't have family and friends. Very appreciative. So I know that's something we'll continue here, and I'm sure there's other clinics within the network that also do the parents' night out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Dallas will be doing it now because I didn't know about that. Yes. No, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been lovely. Thank you for sharing with us what resilience meant to you. To all the folks watching, we appreciate your time, your comments, and we look forward to serving you. Please join us not next Tuesday, but Tuesday, November 9th. We have another installment in this series of We Are Who We Serve, where several of our staff members will be talking about their experience with post 9/11, being post 9/11 service members, family members, and Gold Star families. We invite you to join us for that conversation November 9th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.